Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We're going to work on a Marado today. It's a Marado Evolution 1. It's a 5-ball bearing reel with an aluminum frame, all aluminum frame. We didn't see much of these. I believe Marado was Korean made. We didn't see many of them here, but they're nice reels. And this one's got a wide frame, a nice level wind feature behind it, plenty of spooling capacity. I believe when it's nice and lubed up, that you can have a pretty well free spooling cast to it. We're going to find that out. It's got a 4.4 to 1 gear ratio, and I got this one as part of a group sale, so I'm just interested to see what's underneath it. And we're going to take this apart. We'll show you how it's made, if you have one of these, how it's serviced, and give you an idea about the reel in general if you go to purchase one of these. Interestingly enough, you can usually date reels. If this is a rosewood handle, the reel probably dates to early 2000s. I don't think you can use rosewood in handles anymore, and that kind of looks that way. So this says 5-ball bearings. I didn't pull a schematic. I don't know if a schematic is available. So what I recommend that you do as you take your reel apart is to go ahead and take pictures along the way. Now I'm taking pictures with a video camera. You don't need to use that, but use your cell phone, use a digital camera, use whatever. But at critical junctures along the way, take a moment to take the pictures. That way you know the orientation of the pieces and parts, you know where they came from, the order that you took them out in, and if you get stuck on the way back in, well, it'll show you how to put them back together again too. So while I take these pieces and parts off, I like to thank our healthcare workers, regardless of what your role is in healthcare, all of our uniformed services, fire, police, rescue, EMTs, and the like, and all of our essential workers that are involved in keeping us safe during the pandemic. Your efforts truly are appreciated. Well, this reel hasn't been serviced in a while. We can see there's some sand, there's some buildup there. Just, if you like, use a penetrating oil or something to kind of flush it out and ease it off as you pull that handle up. And here's a tip for you. If you find that it's a little tough, go ahead and back the star adjuster off and use the pressure from the star adjuster to evenly push that handle up and out, so you don't need to scar any threads on the shaft or that, and you'll see that it's just pushing it right off there. That kind of solves two things at once. It solves the removal of the handle, and also helps you back off the star adjuster, which will come next. You may have noticed that there's a little tension spring that goes between the handle and that star adjuster that pushed off. So we're going to take care of that. We're going to put all of our pieces and parts into a parts tray. I use the bottom of a milk container for that. And I'm going to continue by removing this handle here. And for some reason, the video is going dark. I don't know why. Well, hopefully it's not a big problem. Notice as you take these apart, there's a little shim washer in here, which is next up. And then it looks like we have 2 of these little flex washers on the shaft. I'm going to leave them there. We'll take care of that as we take it off. You can try and pull them out there, or just wait. They'll all come out together when you remove the side plate. I have 3 of these screws. Once you loosen them, they should be able to pull out, and then you can work the rest by hand. Now, I don't think that this is going to enable me to get the side plate off. Well, it does, interestingly enough. And we can see one of the bearings is here. A second bearing is on this side. We have some mag adjusters. With those 2 bearings properly oiled, this spool should really fly in terms of casting. So let's go do that right now. I'm going to take a fishing reel oil. And I don't care what brand you use. I alternate between several different brands. This one's Reel X. It's an older container, but it's refilled. I use Reel X. I use some Penn Precision Reel Oil. I've used Lucas Reel Oil in the past. Doesn't really matter. Make sure it's a fishing reel oil. Okay, here those ball bearings are. We should have another ball bearing in the pinion drive here. Possibly one up top here. We'll see as we count them off. And I'm thinking one of those is in that handle knob. I'm always curious when they advertise, the ball bearings, what they're counting. So we got one, we got another one here. I'm laying these on a table to make sure that they are the right size. They are, so those are going to my parts tray. Now I should be able to pull up, and remember those shim washers there. They will come out. There you go. So we've got a couple of things that just came out here. We have the two shim washers. Then we have a flat washer underneath that that's a shield. So we have one on top, one on the bottom as a shield. And then we have our instant anti-reverse. So those are the pieces. I'm going to put those into the star adjuster cap. And then we have our gear sleeve thread. And before I start pulling things off, I want to pull these two springs off, because a lot of times when you're working on these baitcaster setups, that those springs just kind of get lost in the process. So next up, I can remove the gear sleeve. Now we have a main gear in pieces. We'll want to see what's there. We have our click ratchet, a little shim washer underneath for the main gear. This is slotted so that the free spool release gets tripped back. And I'm guessing that I probably have that other bearing right here underneath. And to do that, we're going to remove this little E-clip on the back here. Just going to use a small screwdriver to kind of pry that out. Keep saying I'm going to get myself one of these pliers that pushes it out. I just haven't done it yet. There we go. And we want to see if we have a bearing in here or not. So let's go pull that out. And yeah, we do have a bearing. That's where your other bearing is. It's underneath there. Good to know. So I'm going to oil that bearing. So that's three. We have two on the spool and one on this main shaft. Take a look at the shaft. Make sure that it's clear. Doesn't have any debris. Kind of roll it around. Make it feel smooth. Put a little bit of grease back in there because that is a friction point inside your bearing. Then we'll just turn right around on this. Put that back in before we get too lost. Reseat that bearing. Then we can put that clip right back on, having serviced that piece. Sometimes you can put these clips on with finger strength. Sometimes you need a little assist. We'll see what the case is here. There's a slot that it rides in. Make sure you're in that slot. Well, I got most of it there. I'm just going to grab a little pliers here just to complete that. That's good. Give it a twirl. Make sure that it's doing what it should be doing. And on this side, we've had the yoke fall out. That's okay. We've had the pinion gear fall out. That's okay. That's where pictures help. Before you start doing much, take that picture. Don't rely on your memory. Memories can fool you. And what I'm doing right now is I'm working that pinion gear. Just getting the grease out of there. Checking the teeth to make sure that they're all uniform and that they're not an issue. You don't need to remove this jack assembly unless you know that there's a problem in there. It doesn't hurt to spray behind it. Maybe use a penetrating oil to loosen things up. Give it a push or two there, just to make sure it fires. Take a picture. You want to know where that spring is, because if you lose that spring, it's going to be hard to figure out how to reset that. And then behind there, this one's working fine. It's clean. I'm just going to put some oil in. I don't like to leave the penetrating oil simply as a lubricant. I do use fishing reel grease. I use Penn Precision reel grease in this part. I'm going to use an artist's brush. You don't need an artist's brush. Use a screwdriver. Use, well, whatever you want to use. At one point I was using my fingers. Use whatever you like to put the grease on there. And then with the refreshed pinion gear, let's get a good amount of grease in there, because there hasn't been a lot of grease in or on this reel in a long time, and that's undoubtedly why the reel is a little sluggish. All right. So we've greased that up pretty well. On that pinion gear, you have a slot here that's going to accept the spool. You want to make sure that that slot is facing out from the back side, so it goes in like this. That's how your assembly sits. All right, we can put our click ratchet and that bottom washer for the main gear. They can go on next. And we're going to check the insides of the main gear, make sure that that's okay. I want to check the washers. These are hard washers in here. Nice clean interior. If you got any kind of dirt or junk in there, make sure that you wipe it down and clear that out. In this case, the next step then is a hard washer, so you don't need to do anything with hard washers. They're non-porous, so they're not going to accept any oils or that as it is. You have two round washers, but one's got an indent. That's the top one. So first one in is the round washer. Make sure these are clean, that they don't have any debris on them. Next up is the eared washer that always goes in the middle on a setup like this, a 6-drag setup. And then you have that one. And now the one with the indentation on it, the indentation faces towards the drag washers. When you've completed all of that, we can go ahead and set that onto the gear sleeve next. And if you like these kinds of videos, if you like to learn a little bit more about reel repair and how reels come together, how they're made, certain characteristics of them, well, I'd ask you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe, please hit the notification button. That way you'll be able to see the videos that I'm posting, and you'll learn what ones are coming next and in the previews that I do, and you'll be able to see them as they come up. And then you can make a determination. I work on all kinds of fishing reels. We're working on a level wind round bait casting reel today. Tomorrow it might be a spinning reel. The next day it might be an ambassador or something. Just whatever shows up in my shop is kind of what you see here. So I would encourage you to do that notification in addition to the subscription. All right, so I've reset the main gear. I'm going to go grab those two springs. One goes on each post. And I want to grab that gear sleeve. You want to make sure that it's clean on the inside and the outside. This one came off a little tight, so maybe there was some grease or something in there. So it doesn't take much to just clean it out. I use a cotton swab for that. Make sure that the exterior pieces are there. And then make sure it's dry on the outside, because this is going to be riding on the inside of that instant anti-reverse, and that's a friction-driven piece, so you need it to be dry, not oiled. While I got it out here, there's a little bit of kind of looks like tarnish on the inside of it. It doesn't look like grease. I'm understanding that this whole thing, its performance is based on lack of grease. This is your instant anti-reverse. That collar is going to go inside here, and it stays dry. Do not oil that. And up top here, I'm not sure if this is a bearing or not. Let's see. It is a bearing, so go ahead and oil that bearing. So we have one bearing on the shaft, one bearing here, two on the spool. And if they're counting that instant anti-reverse clutch as a bearing, well, that's your 5 bearings. Always fun to see if I can find the ones. All right, I'm going to use a piece of a kitchen scrubby, some rod and reel cleaner. I'm going to get the tarnish off the outside of this case. This is a good all-purpose cleaner, and it's a polisher. It's kind of a 2-in-1 effect here. And I find that it's very effective. It's a pen, rod, and reel cleaner. Again, I don't have any particular endorsements or anything like that in terms of rod and reel cleaners and greases and oils and the like, but if I find one that works, I'll let you know. All right, we're going to close this one up now. Okay, so grab your 2 case screws then, and go ahead and let's go put those in. One goes on each post. And we'll come back and reassemble this reel, and we'll do a little service of that worm gear, and then give it a test drive. So it's a pretty straightforward internal case. Looks like high quality parts. Minimum wear on this one. So there's no reason to believe this can't go fishing for quite some time to go. We saw a lot of the Marado reels about 15 years ago now, I'm thinking. Used to see the Compass reel, which was an oversized level 1 reel for saltwater. They made a run for a while. These Evolution reels made a run for a little while. They were moderately priced. I would say this one was probably, at the time, maybe $70 or $75. I guess by today's standards it would be around $100 those years later. But overall it was a good value for the price of the reel. Alright, I guess while I have that piece here, we can go ahead and use that to clean the spool. So if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, maybe you're working on a reel and you're a little stuck with something, you can go ahead and leave that question in the comment section. I'll be happy to try and answer the question if I can, if I know the answer to it. I guess that's the, and if I don't know the answer to it, what I'll try and do is give you a pointer in terms of where to go to find that answer overall. But leave those in the comment section. It would be helpful. All right, let's go load this on then. Just looking for the slot. You want to line your, there we go. You want to line your screws up with the slots. I'm going to hand tighten this now. We'll come back and we'll tighten it with the screwdriver in a moment. So these reels are appropriate for everything from catfishing to saltwater to deep lakes to trolling. It's got a lot of nice capacity on it. It will handle heavy line. So you don't need to be afraid of catching something a little bit too big. All right, I'm going to remove the pole cap now, and the pole should come out. If you just sort of tap it, you'll see it starts to come down. And you want to check the pole. You want to make sure that both points on the pole are in good condition. These are. And you also want to make sure that if there's any kinds of dirt, you can see it here, maybe you can't. Depends on that resolution of that camera there. But this one has, you can see this one has dirt on the shoulder there, and that's going to impact the performance of the line guide if you leave it there. So you got to get that all cleaned up. You can put that back in. And about halfway, as I start that, then I'm going to put a drop of oil or two because I want to get it onto the shoulder of that case as well. All right, now we can grab our cap and start that. And we're going to have to play around with that cap to get this pole seated properly. And generally, you're not going to be able to do that until you put your assembly on here to get the drag working. We had two flat ones. One goes up, one goes down. That's next. You have two tension washers. Those are concave, they're not flat washers. We have the top one, and we have our adjuster. Once you get the adjuster on enough, put your tension washer on and your handle. And then you can complete the tightening of that piece. All right, we're tight there. While I'm saying tight, let's tighten up those side plate cases, screws. Back on. And we'll give it a spin. We'll see how we did. Handle, tension washer, handle, nut. And again, if you took pictures along the way, you know the sequence here. Make sure this nut goes on square. I've seen a lot of reels come in with broken pieces and parts in here because somebody tried to force it, whether it's a stripped gear shaft or it's a crack in the handle nut, just take a little bit of precaution. Generally it'll work. And then you want to tighten it. And generally, if you have a flat spot that's perpendicular to the hole, or you have that point lined up with that hole, then your case with the screw in it should be able to fit. We'll see without taking that screw out if we're lined up or not. We are. So there you go. All right. Okay, nothing left to do then than give it a test drive. We've tightened up the pawl. We've put a little bit of oil onto that worm gear. Reassembled the reel, tightened down on our screws. Everything should be good to go. Nice and smooth, easy turning reel. 5-ball bearings. Make sure that our spool is turning in cast mode, which it is. Make sure that our free spool is releasing. Drags tight. Drags are nice and tight. There you go. So that's it. That's the Marado Evolution 1 5-ball bearing, all aluminum frame, saltwater or catfishing or deep lake fishing reel. And that's how you take it apart, service it, and put it back together again. So if you have a reel that you need serviced and you're not up for doing it yourself, if you send me an email on a business card that follows, I'll be happy to provide you that information. So to everybody, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.